Well, we're here with Coach Joe Girardi, number one job probably in the world, head coach of the New York Yankees. For people that maybe don't know about your career, because you were a great player, good long career, maybe you could tell us a little bit about your background.
Well, I grew up in Illinois. I grew up a Cub fan, and fortunately for me, I was drafted by the team that I dreamed about playing for. Oh, wow. And I played 7 years with the Chicago Cubs during the course of my almost 15-year career and retired. My goal was to make it till I was 40. I made it till I was 39, so I was close. But I had a wonderful career, had great stops along the way. Think about the towns I got to play in: Chicago, New York, the Rockies when they were an expansion team, and we were drawing over 4 million people every year, and the St. Louis Cardinals.
That's awesome. And just to kind of put in perspective what it means to have a career like that, I actually did some research. There's right now 455,300 high school players, and less than 0.5% of them will ever get paid to play baseball.
Well, it's a great profession, and you have to have some breaks along the way, and it takes a lot of work. But if you have a dream, I would suggest that you chase that dream and you follow it. But the thing that I always did was I always knew that I had something to fall back on, and that was my education, and that was really important to me.
That's great, and that kind of gets into what we're talking about today. There's this problem in baseball and NBA, NFL, where players within 5 years of being done with their careers have gone bankrupt. And the other issue is that there's physical problems. So we wanted to ask, first of all, just some of the landmines that are out there for players, things they should be looking out for, in your opinion, to help avoid that issue financially.
Well, I think it's important for players not to forget where they came from, because most players in professional sports don't come from a wealthy background and learned how to make ends meet. Whether you were in the minor leagues and your meal money was $12 a day and you figured out how to eat on $12 a day. So what I always try to do is I try not to change my spending habits a lot and remain humble. And even though that I have a great salary, I knew that it always wasn't going to be a great salary. Now, I didn't know that I was going to be a manager and do this, but I prepared for the future knowing that I need to be able to live on a salary that a normal human being really makes, because I'm not always going to have the financial whereabouts that you have as a player.
Yeah, I actually got to meet Bill Gates' financial manager and asked him the question, so what's the sort of big trick to investing when you're dealing with zillions of dollars? And he said it's really the same at every level. It's stop with all the consumption. You know, you got to avoid consumption or overconsumption if you're going to have some left over. So in doing that, obviously, it's really hard for these guys to set a budget, stick with a budget. What can they do to be better disciplined in that area?
Well, I think they have to find someone that they trust and that will say no to them. You know, this is not a good idea to buy your 6th car. You don't need 6 cars, or you don't need 3 houses. And I think that's the pitfalls that players fall into. They always assume they're going to make that type of money, and they want all these things. And people say, well, you should get it for yourself. You know, splurge a little bit on yourself. And I've always stayed away from that. I've stayed away from expensive hobbies. You know, my true passion, my true hobby is eating. So I like to eat. So if I'm going to spend a little money, it's going to be on food. But I don't have a car collection. I don't have, you know, a boat collection. I don't have a house collection. I try to keep it simple.
Yeah, there's some nice restaurants out there, but they don't cost as much as like a Bentley. I don't
no,
think
they do not. Or, you know, a Porsche or a Maserati or those sort of things.
Yeah. So, and then in terms of getting help, what help have you gotten to make sure that you were held to the right types of investments, to the right type of budget, and making sure you were getting set for life?
Well, I've sought out wise counsel. I have mentors. My college coach, who's the AD at Wake Forest, has been one of my mentors, and I'll run things by him. An agent that's not afraid to tell me no. I've sought wise money handlers and tried to stay true to my principles and the principles that people have taught me. And I think one of the other pitfalls that athletes fall into is, because we don't come from wealthy backgrounds, is we want to help everyone. And you can't help everyone. You have to make sure that you're taken care of first, your wife and your children's futures are taken care of, before you start giving out to other people.
Yes, the put your oxygen mask on first principle.
Yes, and I'm not saying that from a selfish way.
Right.
But you don't want to fall on hard times and not be able to provide for your family because you gave so much money away.
Yeah, and I think just having, again, the help, somebody who's advising you, and then maybe they could be in the middle of that also.
I think is really important, because a lot of times it's hard for the player to say no to a family member or someone that you grew up that you're really close to. So I've always used my agent as the go-between person. Or if you can find a go-between person that can tell someone, no, we're not comfortable doing this at that time, or no, he's not comfortable doing this. So if you have a person that is good at telling people no and you're not, I would definitely seek them out.
Yeah, if they can vet even some of these other landmines. Have you seen guys get involved in just crazy investments before?
Oh, of course. Yeah. I mean, sometimes it's a land deal, sometimes it's who knows, it might be a dealership deal or something, but they tell them, we're going to make 50% on your money. Well, sometimes things that sound too good to be true are really too good to be true. And if you stay with strict principles and you don't take a lot of risk, there's a good chance you're not going to lose a lot of money.
Yeah, and it helps just to have wise counsel, as you mentioned, because if I was 20, 25 and somebody said I could double my money, I probably would have bought it at that time. Now at twice that age, I know, like you said, it doesn't work that way.
And we have to understand, we live in a world where there's a lot of scams now, and a lot of it's done over the internet, and a lot of it, seems too good to be true, and people are trying to double their money or trying to get rich quick. It doesn't happen. Do it the old-fashioned way.
Well, it's no wonder your players love you, because clearly you care about them. And we wanted to touch on the other part of this too, which is just their health. I know you hear in baseball a lot where a team starts to slip and the coach says, well, the food they're eating, the lifestyle they're living really had a lot to do with it. What's your advice? Because you still look great. What's your advice about taking care of yourself, extending your career?
Well, I've always felt that and believed that your body's a temple, and you only get one body. Now, I know they can replace knees, but you're not going out there with a knee that's replaced, or they replace shoulders. As a baseball player, you get one set of knees, you get one arm, and you need to stay healthy. So I've always been under the principle that I've always stuck to is no one's ever going to take my job because they outwork me. And one of the ways that I prepared and helped me deal with the stress of baseball was being as physically fit as I could, putting as many good things in my body as I could, just understanding that I wanted to give myself the best chance to be successful. And I also knew that I wanted to play a long time. And if I developed the principles when I was young, I would have them when I was older, and my body would hold up as long as it was possible. And I was fortunate. I got to play till I was 39, and I don't have knee problems. I have a few back issues just like everybody else in this world, but I came out relatively healthy, and I believe it was because of my training, my diet, and my diet still hasn't changed. I try to put only good things in my body. I do things in moderation. My wife will laugh at me because I'm the type of person that can eat a half of a cookie and then eat the half the next day because, I want a little something good too. Yeah. But it's just being really disciplined because I wanted the most out of my career.
Yeah, I think the assumption could be a career is only supposed to be short because body parts wear out and you just lose a lot of your skills quickly because it just is what it is. But yet, if you do invest in your health, so I have a degree in nutrition, and we do know that you get an edge, you get longevity, you reduce inflammation. So anything specific you'd recommend? I mean, so there's obviously just moderation. Like you said, it's not about deprivation. It's not like you can never eat a cookie again. But for players who, again, are exposed to a lot of opportunity to eat junk food, anything specifically you'd recommend nutritionally?
Well, I would say get educated and understand what your body needs. And if you're an athlete and you're married, have your wife educated too. So she, if she enjoys to cook or you enjoy to cook, know what to put in your body. Know what your body needs. And I've been very regimented. I think discipline is extremely important. If you're going to have a good diet, you have to be disciplined. And if you're not disciplined, have people around you that are disciplined to tell you, no, that's not good for you. Don't eat that. As I said, you only get one body, you get one chance at your career, and you don't want to blow it because you didn't take care of yourself.
Yeah, nutrition is one edge. It's one, it's a game of inches, and if we can get that little bit of an edge and we can keep our bodies sound, you get also even financially, getting back to that, you extend your career, which makes a big difference in money too.
It makes a huge difference. It goes hand in hand. The longer your career, the more money you're going to make, and the better off hopefully you're going to be. But as I said, someone asked me the question the other day, what's more important, your nutrition or sleep? And I really had to think about, they're both extremely important, but the nutrition and your training is really what gives you the energy. People can deal with a little bit of lack of sleep now and then, but it's hard to deal with bad nutrition and if you don't work out. So I think those things are vital to a long, successful career.
Yeah, the closest friend I have in baseball is Kyle Farnsworth, our mutual
Specimen.
friend. Yeah, and he is still a specimen. Part-time, he just plays football. He plays in a semi-pro football league.
Not surprised.
No, at 38, and still could throw a ball almost 100 miles an hour, and he's in great shape. So in terms of fitness, I know a lot of the players may not necessarily think, lifting weights, staying fit aerobically is all that important, but you look like you're in great shape still. That probably had a lot to do with the fact that you almost played till 40.
Well, I think players need to understand that every time you play a game, you're breaking down your muscles, and you need to build them back up, and that's through working out and nutrition. And Kyle understood that at an early age. I had a chance to play with Kyle when he was a young player in Chicago, and he was working out all the time, and he was careful what he put in his body, and I used to laugh at him as the amount of weight that he was leg pressing, but it was astronomical. But he knew that from a pitcher, you wanted to build from the ground up. And I think that's in all sports. Your legs have to be extremely strong, and then your core has to be extremely strong. And if you do that, you're going to avoid injury, and you're going to play a lot longer.
Yeah, I think once again, the thought could be that injuries just happen, but you don't realize that it could be you're not in shape, could be you're not eating well. That combination in particular can shorten a career, and you've obviously realized that.
Yes, I have. And some injuries are just going to happen. You're going to get hit by a fastball and you're going to break a wrist. I mean, that just happens. But the pulled calf, the pulled hamstring, the chronic hamstring injuries, there's something wrong there. There's a weakness, and sometimes it can be dehydration, and it could be bad nutrition that leads to that. And those are the things that you don't want.
Yeah, now, of course, post-career and in the number one job in sports, there's also what happens afterwards, that I know at 20, 25, 30, you're still living forever, but you want to have a great life afterwards. So, how have you seen the investments that you've made in your health? How are they paying off now?
The way it pays off now is I can really enjoy my wife and kids. We can do a lot of things together. I can train with my children. I can ski with my wife and kids. And those are the things that I want. I want to be able to do things as long as possible. My goal is to be able to physically train my kids until they get out of the house, in a sense, and not say, well, Daddy can't do that because his knee hurts or his back hurts. Those are the things that I want to stay away with, because I want to teach them and give them advantages for the rest of their life.
Well, Coach, I know you're busy with camp, but I really appreciate you giving back.
Well, thanks for having me, and you want to see every athlete, and really every person, be able to enjoy their life to the fullest.